Welcome to CinemaSpection. I'm Tim.
I'm Corinne.
And this time we're traveling to Brooklyn, New York on a hot summer day in 1972 to discuss the ultimate bank robbery movie, Sidney Lumet's groundbreaking Dog Day Afternoon.
At approximately 3 p.m. on August 22nd, 1972, Sonny Wurtzik and Sal Naturale entered the First Brooklyn Savings Bank and attempted a robbery.
Nobody move! Get over there!
The attempt failed.
It's for you. What?
The police arrived.
This is Detective Sergeant Eugene Moretti. What are you doing in there?
You keep away from this bank or we're gonna start throwing bodies out the front door, one at a time. I'm a Catholic and I don't want to hurt anybody, understand?
Hello, Sonny. You're on the air.
We're entertainment, right? What do you got for us?
I ain't going back to that prison, Sonny.
I'm here with my partner and 9 other people. See, we're dying.
Don't!
You're gonna see our brains on a sidewalk. They're gonna spill our guts out.
Don't fire!
1, we get a helicopter here. 2, takes us to a jet. 3, I'm flying to the tropics. We did it.
Al Pacino. Dog Day Afternoon. A true story.
It was supposed to be a quick, simple robbery, but from the moment Sonny Wurtzik and his friend Sal Naturale enter the First Brooklyn Savings Bank and draw their guns, things go wrong. Their accomplice Steve loses his nerve and flees. They discover the cash has already been picked up, leaving just over $1,000 in the vault, and the police are quickly alerted to the robbery and surround the building. With his botched crime becoming a media circus outside the bank's front door and his chances of escaping dwindling, Sonny struggles to keep the hostages calm, manage Sal's increasing edginess, negotiate with Police Sergeant Moretti and the FBI, and deal with his needy wife.
As per usual, we'll be discussing Dog Day Afternoon in detail, so if you haven't seen the movie and want to remain unspoiled, we recommend you watch the film before listening to the rest of this episode.
Okay, Corinne, why don't you talk about your history with this movie, how you first saw it?
I believe this is a movie I saw for the first time when I was a teenager. I mean, my mom was responsible for this one as well. She loved Al Pacino, and I don't know if she had seen this movie in the past, but it was a revelation. I had never sat and seen a drama so heavy at that time. The emotions were just radiating off the TV screen. I'd never experienced it before then.
These are the kind of movies I love, something with a closed location, characters in desperate circumstances, a lot of great dialogue back and forth. I remember hearing about this movie for so long and finally catching it on Channel 56 and thinking two things. One, being amazed that they missed some of the swears when they cut it out, which would be a much bigger deal today than it was back then. But also just the amazing tonal shifts of the movie, how it starts off almost as an absurd comedy. It's fun, it's light, and then as it goes on and things get more desperate, it gets grimmer and grimmer until the end. It really throws you for a loop where it ends up.
I'm not really sure it starts out light and fun, but it does start out with a fiasco.
But there's so much in that first half that you find yourself laughing at him.
Well, yes, because it's a fiasco. You have to laugh at the fiasco. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong and was hilarious. From the moment Sonny tried to get his gun out of the flower box and fumbled around with it to the very last moment, it was a fiasco.
Let's talk a little info about the movie. It was inspired by the article The Boys in the Bank by P.F. Klug from Life magazine, which detailed the true events that occurred on August 22nd, 1972. The movie itself was released on September 21st, 1975. It was shot for a budget of $1.8 million and earned $50 million at the box office and was nominated for 6 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor for Pacino, Best Supporting Actor for Chris Sarandon, and Best Film Editing, but won only for Frank Pearson's original screenplay.
And somehow, even though it grossed so much money, they didn't make a sequel.
Let's talk about the actors and their characters. First off, of course, is Al Pacino as Sonny Wurtzik, based on the real-life bank robber John Wardowitz, who was described at the time of the incident as resembling Al Pacino or Dustin Hoffman. So.
I highly doubt that, having seen pictures of him from back then. But as far as needing somebody so crazy and expressive to play the role of Sonny, it was the perfect choice. I mean, I know that Dustin Hoffman was up for it at one point, and he would have done great as well, but there's something about a Pacino performance when things go crazy that it's just so special.
I think more than Hoffman, he has this kind of simmering anger. I mean, which he's certainly become much more known for over the years. In fact, you could almost look at this as the start of kind of the angry Al, of the yelling and ranting, although here it's much more fitting of the scenes and the incidents where it comes up. But, I mean, face it, that's kind of what you know Al Pacino for in his later career, is yelling really loud!
Al Pacino, the yelling years.
But he actually had passed on the role initially because he was just coming off of Godfather 2 and was exhausted from that one, because that's really a depressing role.
Yeah.
And when it was offered to Hoffman, that's the thing that made him decide, no, I have to do it.
They did have quite a big rivalry around that time. They were both leading men with very solid careers ahead and behind them. They were up for similar roles, but they would have brought different things to this particular role. I'm not sure that Dustin Hoffman could have captured the frenetic pace of the outside scenes, outside the bank, interacting with the crowd.
Get back there! What are you doing? Look at him with him! Get over there! Go back there, man! Get over there, will ya? He wants to kill me so bad he can taste it. I'm always gonna kill anybody. ATTICA! ATTICA! What are you? ATTICA! ATTICA! ATTICA!
You said it, that Al Pacino has this undercurrent of anger, and he does. And Dustin Hoffman, he feels more measured.
And Pacino also brings this kind of desperation. So much of this movie, he looks like this caged animal with the wide eyes, just staring at all this stuff spinning out of his control.
In fact, one of the first things he does when the shit starts going down and fiasco has begun, his tie comes off, his suit jacket comes off. As the movie goes on, his shirt is untucked. You can see his shirt is unbuttoned. He's sweating through it. He is just shedding all of the societal layers. Meanwhile, his partner, Sal, completely dressed in the outfit he came in with the entire time. Red suit, shirt, tie, completely errorless in his wardrobe.
The other thing I think that Hoffman might not bring that Pacino does is there's also kind of almost a salesman quality to it in the second half. That moment that I didn't even realize the full import of it, when he realizes how desperate Sal is, to the point where Sal is not willing to go back to prison and has to sell him on this idea of, oh, we can get out of here. We'll get a plane. We'll get a helicopter will bring us to the airport. And you realize he's trying to sell this to him and sell it to everybody else, that they can actually accomplish this and everybody can walk away.
It feels a lot like corner boy talk. Like really, really quick-paced, confuse you but convince you at the same time.
There's a vibe that Wurzik is kind of this never-do-well kind of guy who's always trying to sell his friends or family on something or make them believe that he's much more than he is.
Well, I think he believes it. I think he absolutely believes he can do these things. And when it fell apart, it kind of it threw him for a loop. He was supposed to be able to succeed at this bank job. It was supposed to be really easy, in and out, and it wasn't his fault that it went wrong. It was everybody else's fault that it went wrong.
Well, that brings something else I noticed watching it again, is he almost has this kind of martyr complex going on through the movie. That so much of it is all the things he's doing for everybody else, what he's doing for Leon, how much he's doing for the hostages and everything.
We're going to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, we're gonna get the ball rolling. What do you think I'm doing? I'm working on it, right? What does it look like? You think it's easy? You know, I gotta keep them cooled out. I gotta keep all you people happy. I gotta have all the ideas, and I gotta do it all alone. I'm working on it. You wanna try it?
The sense of how ungrateful everybody is for everything he's trying to do for them. And also that he walks around the whole time going, I'm dying. You know, this sense that he knows he's doomed. That when they get in the bus and it actually seems like they're going to get on the plane, he's like completely surprised by it. Can you believe it?
He's like, we did it. We got away, we did it. It's great.
Who would have thought that? Yeah. And yet, when it goes wrong, it's just him alone being arrested on the car. There's this look of kind of, of course I should have known this was going to go this way, but also complete defeat at the same time.
Yes.
He breaks down, and it's like he knew this was going to happen, but at the same time, he can't believe it's finally actually happening.
Well, he doesn't follow through with anything. He was supposed to follow through with the bank job. He was supposed to follow through in being a good husband, a good father, a good son, a good citizen. And during the movie, I think he really believed he was an amazing citizen for trying to pull back the curtain and show just how corrupt the police are, and everybody's against you, and nobody can get a job these days, and how are you supposed to live? Of course you have to steal. Of course you have to rob a bank. How else are you going to do this? And at the end, he had this promise with Sal that if they couldn't get away clean, they were going to kill themselves. And obviously, they were not getting away clean. But he backpedaled. He's not going to kill himself. But at the end, he says to the cops, "Don't shoot me."
Yep.
His partner's already dead, shot between the eyes. His reaction, "Don't shoot me." So up till the very end, he has not kept one promise.
You can imagine, actually, that pact he made with Sal is something he sold him on to get him into the bank, to get him into the robbery, too.
Yes.
We see how he reacts whenever he's questioned. I mean, we have even the hostages criticizing, "Do you have a plan when you're doing this?" And that great scene with the TV interview where the interviewer is like, "Well, why don't you just get a job?" And he mounts this feeble defense.
What? I don't know what you mean by that. I'm robbing a bank because they got money here. That's why I'm robbing it.
No, what I mean is, why do you feel you have to steal for money? Couldn't you get a job?
No. Doing what? You know, you gotta get, if you want a job, you gotta be a member of a union. See, and if you got no union card, you don't get a job.
What about non-union occupations?
What's wrong with this guy? What do you mean non-union? Like what? A bank teller? You know how much a bank teller makes a week? Not much. 115 to start, right? Now you're gonna live on that?
These are bigger truths, especially, now and in the 70s. These are really large truths. If you don't jump over societal hurdle 1, you can't get to point 2. There's no skipping any of this stuff. However, his choice to go out of societal legal bounds has put him in a really bad position. Nobody really wants to hear him give excuses now that he's broken the social compact. It's more, well, why didn't you do something else? We don't care about your imaginary plight, or at least that was the media.
Right.
And the people. Immediately upon the police reaching the bank, people begin flocking in. They just crush. I mean, there has to be at least 3 or 4 spectators to policemen.
Yep.
Incredible number of people and media. And they're on his side. They're absolutely on his side. Yep, Attica, we're on your side. The police, the pigs, they've done you wrong, man. And then when they find out that he's a homosexual,
or, well, more accurately, bisexual.
Well, in the movie, they're painting it as homosexual. They're saying, a quote, admitted homosexual, unquote. They turn against him. He isn't like them anymore. Yeah, they're poor. Yeah, they're struggling. Yes, we are all every man. But now you're different and we don't like it. So we're turning against you. And there's harassment, sexual harassment. They throw things at him on the way out and they boo him. And they were cheering him earlier on. They dug this.
And I have to give Pacino credit for not giving in to maybe playing Sonny with that sort of in mind, any of the kind of stereotypes of the era that we might have normally seen. Because up to that middle point, he just plays it straight, normally.
Yes.
Not straight in that sense.
Yes. He doesn't give a stereotypical performance that this character may have gotten from someone else.
He plays the romance that we discover he has with Leon with complete conviction
Yeah.
and plays it completely dead serious.
Like, he is a man, and he is himself. He isn't like the gay best friend on TV shows, or, even the gay leading man on, again, TV shows and books, the stereotype. He is just himself. And he happens to have a wife and another wife, but the other wife is named Leon.
I actually think they made him less unpleasant than the real life
They
person
did.
he played.
Oh my gosh. He was insufferable.
At least in the film, Sonny has a bit more nobility to what he's trying to do.
Yes. It isn't quite as egocentric as the real man appeared to be.
Next is John Cazale as Sal Naturale.
I feel like I have seen this actor everywhere. I believe he only was he in 3 movies?
He was in 5.
5 movies.
5 movies, all of which were nominated for Best Picture.
And that may be why I feel like I've seen him everywhere, because he's been in such prominent films. But He's incredible, and what a loss.
It
What a
really
loss.
was way too soon. Of course, he's probably best known as Fredo from the two Godfather movies.
Yes.
Also, The Conversation from Francis Ford Coppola, and The Deer Hunter, which was sadly his last movie. And even the movie he appears in archival footage, Godfather 3, also nominated for Best Picture.
Oh.
And he's actually relatively local, born in Revere, Massachusetts. He befriended Pacino when they were working as messengers for Standard Oil before they were professional
He was
actors.
a Revere boy.
Yeah.
Revere.
And apparently the real Sal is actually only a teenager. He was 18, but Pacino insisted that Lumet have Cazale audition for it. And once Lumet saw him, he immediately decided they had to cast him. He commented that Cazale possessed this sort of internal sadness that
Yes.
seeped into his parts, and you really feel it here.
The character mentions at some point that he is a Vietnam vet, and you can feel that through his whole performance. You can feel that he has been deeply affected and would have probably been diagnosed with PTSD at this point.
And a lot like Sonny, he's a really odd mix of extremes.
Yes.
That he's this guy who seems very calm and measured compared to Sonny and Stevie, the other guy who was going to do the robbery but chickened out. Of all of them, he seems the most professional as a robber, urging Sonny, come on, let's get on with it.
Well,
he's keeping the gun on the hostages the way he's supposed
he's
to.
the first one in. He sits next to the manager. The gun is on the manager. He doesn't panic, and he never panics.
But at the same time, then we find out when it comes to killing the hostages, he's completely ready to do it.
Oh, he's on board. But he's willing to take orders. He is not going to make those decisions on his own. He's a soldier.
There's that sense of terror about him, about flying on a plane for the first time.
Yeah.
At the same time, then you have things like when he berates Sylvia for smoking. That
Yes.
Give me the cigarette.
Go ahead, do what you want. I just think you ought to take care of your body, that's all.
My body? What for?
Your body is the temple of the Lord.
You're serious? So you rob a bank, but you keep your body pure. Is that it?
You gonna smoke the cigarette or what?
Yes. If I die of cancer, it'll be half your fault.
No, it's because you're weak.
weird,
Yes.
bizarre, different facets of his personality, or his horror that they're saying there are two homosexuals robbing the bank.
Oh, he was horrified. I felt it was pretty notable that Sonny identifies as Catholic, and one of the women, Maria, hands Sal a rosary toward the end, and there is this very subtle interweaving of Catholicism in the movie. Very, very subtle, but it is there.
There's also this tragic element that another reason why he might have hooked in with Sonny is because when Sonny points out they're going to be leaving the country, is there anyone you want to call? And Sal has nobody.
Yeah.
There is probably nobody else in his life but this guy.
In a way, I wish we got a little more time with the Sal character because he is so tragic. I feel like it's more his story than Sonny's in a way.
And we see that he powers the second half, and that once Sonny realizes that Sal is a legitimate threat to everybody, that motivates Sonny to do as much of the wheeling and dealing as he does in the second half.
Yeah.
That you feel like Sonny is ready to walk out at one point if he thinks he can get some kind of deal, and it's Sal and Sal's ultimatum that no, we're going to stick to our pact.
Sonny wants to live.
Sal,
No.
what's the matter with you?
You made me a promise. Didn't you? Did you promise me something, huh?
Yeah.
Did you say either we get away clean or we kill ourselves? Did you say
But
that?
I'm not talking.
Did you?
I'm not talking
Do you
about
not?
that. I do
Do you
believe.
believe in keeping your promises? Huh?
Yeah, but I'm not
Then does
talking.
it still go?
Yeah, still goes.
Well, what the fuck are you talking about? Huh?
I'm trying to.
I ain't going back to that prison, Sonny.
Next, we come to possibly my favorite character in the movie in a way, Charles Durning as Sergeant Eugene Moretti. Durning has an incredible career. He's another one of those guys you've just seen in everything.
Was he in the Muppet movie or the Frog Legs guy?
Yeah, he's Doc Hopper from the Muppet movie.
That is so great.
He was in Brian De Palma's Sisters, The Sting, where he's the corrupt cop. Tootsie, he's adorable in that movie. Has a really sweet, wonderful part there. The bad guy in Dark Knight of the Scarecrow, and as the boss in the Hudsucker Proxy. And
He was the boss. He was the boss who jumped out the window.
yep.
Oh,
And then he worked with the Coen brothers again in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, where he's the governor who's running it for re-election.
which I still have not seen. We need to do that at some point.
He actually started acting late in his life. Before that, he had a really distinguished military record from World War II and was big in promoting the welfare of veterans. So he's just an all-around awesome guy.
But in this role, loved him. Loved him.
The Moretti character is based on Louis Cattell, who was the New York Police Department chief of detectives who actually negotiated with the real Werdowitz.
His character was a perfect foil for Sonny because they had similarities that were just like terrible for them. They were both completely incompetent.
I disagree with that, actually, but...
Do you?
I do.
think they were both incompetent. I think the incompetency came from Moretti's inability to control his men. I think he knew what he should do, but he was unable to control his men, and that was the most important part. And that was really the sticking point between the two of them in their hostage negotiations. He was constantly having to tell his men to holster their weapons, to move back. He didn't know they were going in the back and trying to get inside.
Well, I'm still not sure they actually were going in the back as much as they just made a noise. Because if you watch that scene when there's a noise at the back door, it looks more like it's because Sonny bumps the thing that's next to the door.
But the same scene, toward the end of that scene, you see police.
They're repelling, but I got the sense...
Thank you, they're repelling.
I got the sense they were more holding position than being ready to actually breach at that particular moment.
So you think that may have been an overreaction?
I definitely think it was an overreaction on his part.
I don't know. And I like that we have...
I like the ambiguity, yeah. We're not sure exactly what went wrong in that particular moment.
But he definitely had a very loose hold on his men, and that makes him incompetent as a sergeant.
Well, but then you look at the scene where he's actually first talking to Sonny on the phone and trying to establish a rapport with him, and actually does.
You're in there, we're out here. What do we do now?
I don't know. What do we do?
Listen, first off, we want to know if the people in the bank are okay.
They're okay.
You alone? You got Confederates?
I'm not alone. I got Sal.
Sal? What's that for? Salvatore?
Yeah, Sal. He's a killer. We're Vietnam veterans, so killing don't mean anything to us. You understand?
In the Army?
In the Army, yeah.
Okay, so there's you. What's your name?
What? What do you want to know my name for?
Give me a name, any name, just so I got something to call you. Come on, let's be reasonable, okay? Just give me the name, all right?
Call me Sonny.
Sonny.
Yeah.
He starts to find out the situation. He actually starts to get hostages out of the building moving.
Yes.
I mean, one of the big problems is when they just send a hostage out and don't tell him, and of course the police overreact. But he's right. I mean, Sonny should have told him, okay, we're sending somebody out right now.
Well, it wasn't that he was sending somebody out, because I think they knew they were sending out a hostage. Sonny had said several times, all I have in here are women. And he sends out the guard, who's a man. He sends out a male hostage. So the police are like, wait, he only has women in there. This has to be one of the robbers.
I watched carefully, though. He also doesn't say, I'm sending somebody out. He goes, hang on, let me get back to you. Let me talk to Sal.
That's
walks
true.
in, and then just sends him out.
That's true.
So there's a lot of bad communication on both parts. But also, I think there's kind of this simpatico between the two of them, because they're both guys put in this impossible situation with everybody watching them, trying to fulfill demands of all these people.
All either of them want is to get out of there safely. I think Sonny is just kind of like, I wish I'd never done this.
Yeah. But
this didn't turn out the way I planned.
With Moretti, as soon as he gets there, the FBI is crawling on his back going, well, you did this wrong.
Well, it wasn't even
watching every move he makes.
It wasn't even the FBI, because the moment he got there, the moment the police got there, the media comes off of a police bus, which was really just frightening. Like, what are they doing on a police bus?
I don't know, maybe they were the ones the police approved to be on the scene, because, it's those are the ones who go right to Moretti and start interviewing him instantly.
They do. I mean, they interview Moretti, they're interviewing Sonny, and the media circus drives the plot.
The other thing is that so much of this movie is the little guy versus the government and the authorities and the ones in power, and he feels much more like the blue-collar guy among the cops. He is just trying to do his job. We see when comparing him to the FBI, who are these stone-faced, rather frightening figures when they show up. He's much more personable. Well, he tries to sympathize with Sonny. That after he gets attacked by that random guy who's the boyfriend of one of the hostages, he's like, "Are you okay? Well, how's your head? Are you all right?"
There's the FBI, and they're in plain clothes. But as far as police personnel who are in plain clothes, I don't remember very many. Sonny has a problem with police, and you can notice anytime there's a policeman in uniform, he reacts much more strongly.
Yeah.
And because he has troubles with the government, He's reacting to the FBI. However, he thinks that the FBI are going to come and get everything taken care of right away, very quickly. So in some kind of strange way, he believes that the government is able to solve problems.
Well, it's more a matter, I think, he thinks Moretti is just some kind of middle-tier cop, and he should be talking to the guy in charge.
Isn't it very early on that he mentions that the FBI, when the FBI are involved,
Yeah.
it'll all go really quickly?
Yeah, but also when he first gives out his escape plan to Moretti, and Moretti's like, well, I have to check with people downtown, I have to check with the people in charge. And immediately Sonny's like, well, why aren't I talking to them? Why am I talking to you?
Yes.
This guy doesn't feel big enough to be talking to Sonny in his mind.
I should not be dealing with the middleman.
Exactly. And he keeps talking about how I could get anybody on the phone. I could talk to an astronaut. I could talk to the Pope.
And then Moretti and Sonny scream at each other. Just scream at each other for nothing.
And yet, a couple scenes later, you have that moment where Sonny comes out and...
You want to talk to me about something?
Shit, I heard that phone call in there. Calls up some creep, says kill everybody. Right? Everybody wants to kill everybody.
I mean, you're gonna get assholes like that anyhow, right?
Right.
There's a rapport that they have that you don't see Sonny have even with his partner in crime.
Yeah, if these two guys met in a bar, not knowing what the other one did, and just talked, I bet they'd probably actually kind of get along together.
I think they would.
Actually, Lumet had originally considered him to play the bank manager. I'm really glad he cast him as Moretti instead.
I am too.
During also, he was filming the Hindenburg at the same time, so he had to commute back and forth between the two sets because that movie had been filming in Hollywood. So he must have been exhausted, kind of shuttling back and forth, and yet he still gives his performance. It's full of energy.
But
in those
I
scenes.
think some of that exhaustion comes through because, I mean, the movie itself appears to take place in about 12 hours.
About that,
Well,
maybe.
it starts around 3 p.m. I don't know quite when it ends, but it is dark.
At least probably around 10 hours, I'd say.
Yeah. So they've been, the police and the robbers have been just working on this for about 10 hours. They're tired, they're sweaty, they're gross, they're hungry, and that all, the performances come through, not only because Charles Durning was commuting back and forth and was probably just naturally exhausted, but Al Pacino is a method actor and slept very little, he ate very little, he was a mess.
Moving on, next we come to Chris Sarandon playing Leon Shermer. Of course, Sarandon's better known for his roles in Fright Night, as Prince Humperdinck in The Princess Bride, Child's Play, and as the speaking voice of Jack Skellington in The Nightmare Before Christmas. This was actually his first feature film role. And
really?
Yep.
Until I read the cast, I had no idea that Chris Sarandon was in this film. No idea
he
whatsoever.
looks and sounds so different. He looks so young, but
Yes.
also just... In other roles, I mean, he's just this very handsome, suave dude most of the time.
Yeah, and in a way, he kind of gets typecast into very manly, romantic roles. Roles that are supposed to be sensuous, but also very overwhelming.
This is a character that could be problematic. I always thought watching it that maybe he was kind of going into a bit of the stereotypical view of what that person would be. But having seen documentary footage of the real person that he's based on, Elizabeth Eden, he kind of gets it pretty close.
Yeah. He really does. The character Leon is referred to as a male he. We did see the documentary about this case, and Leon is she who is now Elizabeth Eden. I mean, she's a woman, so it can be very, very difficult seeing a movie that's so problematic in its pronouns. It's a difficult view for that.
It is, but...
Especially because after seeing the documentary, you realize that the real Sonny, he absolutely still views Elizabeth as a man. He refuses to acknowledge her choice.
Getting back to Leon, though, I like that Sarandon makes her kind of an ambiguous character. And that a lot like Sonny, there's a lot of weird, conflicting things in there. She's terrified of Sonny, and yet some of the ways that she behaves in their phone call with him sort of belie that a little bit. And I still got to wonder if, on some level, she kept saying that she wants the operation and pushed him toward it, but left him to figure out how, and just didn't count on him pulling off a robbery to do it.
It's possible that happened. It's very possible. I don't really focus on that so much as there's a place where she's describing how Sonny has cut her and Sonny has threatened her life and put a gun to her head.
I can't help it. I can't stop him from anything.
Well, if he won't listen to you, who will he listen to?
No, I can't talk to him. He won't listen to anybody. He's been crazy all summer. He's been trying to kill me since June. Yeah, put a gun to my head. And he cut me with a knife. He beat up my friends.
Did you try to get in touch with the police?
Well, what good would that do? It would just make him mad. They don't know him, and it wouldn't stop him.
But you can tell, she knows if she goes to the police, it's not going to end well for her.
They'd never take her seriously.
Yeah.
She'd be ridiculed at best.
At best. So that moment, it's just particularly painful.
But there's also the interesting caveat that it's really her idea for them to get married, that Sonny wasn't really into it but did anyway, which kind of speaks again to his character of trying to please everybody.
Yes. It's very common for an abused person, especially in a romantic relationship, to have very conflicting feelings. The feeling of wanting to leave and feeling unsafe, but loving this person so much and wanting to live your life with them. It is very, very complex and very confusing.
It's kind of tragic, too. You really wish that this character could have had the environment now that we have. It's not perfect, but it's a little bit more open and understanding of the process of transition.
Yeah.
Because the real Elizabeth Eden later expressed regret over making the transition.
Did she explain why?
Well, secondhand, people said that she had commented it didn't solve the problem she thought it was going to.
Oh, of course it wouldn't. I mean, she might not regret the transition itself, but from what I've been told, I can only go by second and third party information. Even people who are born in the right body have problems that need working out. It's like the people who are like, I'm going to get a breast enhancement and now everybody's going to love me, or I'm going to dye my hair and I'm going to be beautiful and attractive. It's focusing too much on the exterior, when for her it was obviously exterior and interior.
And you see that in the movie when Leon, she describes all this other crazy stuff she would do that doesn't really seem connected to that.
Right.
All the other antics, which again you'd think kind of make her a perfect match for Sonny because he's just as insane on some level.
But it felt very uncomfortable as well. The police were digging into her. They were asking things that, like, oh, well, what are the kind of things you do? It's like, wait a minute, this isn't about her. She's not robbing a bank.
Well, to be fair, again, that's Moretti, and at this point, he doesn't know. He doesn't know if she's involved in it, and he's also basically trying to get her on the phone because Sonny has demanded it, and he realizes he's got to get her on the phone to keep Sonny placated, because otherwise he doesn't know what's going to happen. So if you watch that scene, he's kind of using the usual police tactics, suggesting she's an accessory, just to try and get her on the phone.
Well, it's not really the accessory part of it. It's like there was something about the crazy things she did, and just it felt like they were asking too many personal questions. It would almost be like asking his first wife, the female he has children with, what kind of things did you do when he was gone? Or, it just felt intrusive in a way that I'm not sure a heterosexual male or female would have gotten.
Maybe. I don't know. Again, because it's a case of a detective trying to figure out who he's dealing with, I think most of his questions seem pretty on point. And I do think Moretti actually goes about it a lot more sympathetically than
he does. He's absolutely much more sympathetic than a lot of police or a lot of these characters would have been. But that character, especially knowing that she's based on a real person, is pretty painful to watch.
It is, but I think the film does a pretty good job of presenting it in the time it had to.
Oh, it does. And it's a movie that you have to almost like forcibly divorce yourself of your 2015 social aesthetics.
Yeah. Frankly, it wouldn't have been realistic if they presented it any other way.
Right.
And that's one thing I like about Sidney Lumet. It is very kind of cut and dry realism for how it's presented. So it is unpleasant what she goes through and the treatment she gets a lot of times, but it does feel accurate.
Yeah. Presented without comment.
Yeah. And in the real case, it's interesting that Elizabeth Eden was able to get the operation because of the money that John Wodowitz got from selling the rights of the story for the film.
That's true.
Which you couldn't do nowadays with the Son of Sam laws. You're not allowed to profit from your crime, so that's another kind of sign of the times then. Next, we come to James Broderick playing FBI agent Sheldon. Broderick also appeared in Alice's Restaurant, The Taking of Pelham 123, and on television in Roots of the Next Generation. He's based on Richard Baker, the FBI agent who was on the scene during the actual robbery. And both Sheldon and Agent Murphy, played by Lance Henriksen, who we'll talk about next, they come across as kind of representing the establishment. And they're not as sympathetic as Moretti, who, like I said, is more of a blue-collar guy. We don't really get a lot of expressiveness out of them at all. They're kind of your typical shadowy FBI agents. They're actually not far removed from the FBI guys from Die Hard.
It's true. The character was very generic FBI agent number one.
But also kind of arrogant in that he goes in the bank, sees the whole situation, walks out, and immediately thinks he's got it figured out that, okay, Sal's the problem.
Okay.
And he's the one we have to take care of.
He does present that to Sonny, and I don't know how much of this was trying to separate them. Like, oh, Sonny, you're fine. You didn't do anything wrong. It's that guy. He's out of control. We need to take care of him.
And we can see it works the other way because Sal realizes that the two of them are exchanging words that he can't hear and starts to get a little paranoid.
Exactly. So I think that's an interrogation tactic.
Very possible, yeah. Or kind of a psychological warfare tactic.
Which I think it didn't work as successfully as he may have hoped, but it definitely drove a little bit of a wedge of doubt between them.
As for Henriksen, of course, he's best known for his roles in Aliens, The Omen 2, The Terminator, Near Dark, and the TV show Millennium, and had actually auditioned to play the Leon part, which I don't know if I really could have accepted him in that role. I think he's a little too intimidating.
I think he could have done a serviceable job.
He's a very good actor,
Exactly. He's a great actor, but there's a subtlety to that role I don't think he could have brought. He's not as overtly emotional, and I think that role needed somebody who could just put it all out there.
I agree, and frankly, as the FBI agent, it's perfect casting.
It is wonderful.
That kind of creepy demeanor he's had in so many films works really well for that part. As soon as this guy shows up, you're like, he's trouble for them. Next, we have Penelope Allen as Sylvia, also known as the Mouth, at least that's what Sonny nicknames her, the head teller. Allen also appeared with Pacino in Scarecrow, starring him and Gene Hackman, and had roles in Sybil, Resurrection, and The Thin Red Line. And she had actually been kind of Pacino's mentor and helper when he first started acting. He lived with her and her husband after he left home to actually start pursuing his career. And she doesn't have a huge part, but I love the little nuances she brings to it.
She feels like she has a huge part in this, and I love her. She's scared for her life, of course, and she's scared for her girls, but she's jaded. She is New York City jaded. Just very, very...
She's kind of steely. Like that moment where Moretti's like, well, why can't she... let her come out too. And she's like, no. And she's offended by the idea. Like, we're going back in.
What's this with the hands?
She's out. Let her stay out. Come on, stay out.
They're my girls. I'm going back in there.
Or my favorite moment with her... Al Pacino asks, oh, is it okay if we let this guy go? I think she says, yeah, of course. He looks to her for approval to make sure he's making the right decision as to which hostage he should be letting go. She acts as a surrogate mother, a surrogate wife for Sonny in the bank.
Part of that might have come from the fact that when the police show up and his plan goes awry, she's the first one to start criticizing him. Did you have a plan? Yeah.
She's willing to give him mouth, as he calls her, the mouth, for things that he's not doing properly, for making the wrong decisions. With any other robber, she may have been shot immediately.
Yeah. Instead, he seems to want her approval later on.
Yes.
And earn that back, her respect. Also, the little thing where when the robbery starts, she's immediately criticizing his language.
Yes.
I mean, right from the beginning, she's kind of gutsy. I love the glee she has when she's like, I was just interviewed on TV.
That, I think, was a weak moment for that character. I wish that she'd been above the media circus.
It makes sense to me that she's been like this teller in this tiny bank, that this is kind of her moment to
get a
little attention.
It does make sense, but I kind of just wish that we hadn't seen that. I think it detracted a little bit from her character.
I don't know, I kind of like it. I also, going back to the fact that she's an authority, like that in the last scene, when it comes to letting the last hostage go, the bank manager turns to her and goes, Sylvia, and she's the one who makes the decision to let, I think it's Maria out.
Maria, yep. Yeah. The bank manager, the only thing he had, authority-wise, were the keys. He had the keys. Sylvia did everything else.
Speaking of the bank manager, let's talk about him. He's played by Sully Boyar playing Mulvaney. He also appeared in the remake of The Jazz Singer with Neil Diamond, Prizzi's Honor, The Sopranos, and actually Panic in Needle Park, also with Al Pacino. And he's another character I like who comes across as this kind of blue-collar guy who's very decent, though, and kind of has his weird little code. That
he has a direct little quote. On my salary, I'm not going to be a hero.
Yet at the same time, when Sonny says that they might have to take a hostage out with them to escape, he's insistent, make it be me. Don't let it be any of the girls.
He cares very deeply for his employees, but he is not going to put himself out there to be shot. Basically, he's not going to go against Sonny on anything in there. Just do what you have to do, but if you have to take one of us, take me. Mm-hmm. But really, do what you have to do. I'm not going to do anything to stop you.
And even when he's really sick from being diabetic and they're offering to take him out of there, he still refuses to leave.
However, the first time he does, in the very beginning, he tries to use one of the alarm keys.
He does.
In the vault, and when he realized that Sonny knew a lot more than he should about banking procedures, he just throws his arms up and lets it happen.
Which is the smart move.
It is absolutely the smart move.
I also like that after everything that happens, he reaches this point of frustration where he does have to finally let Sonny have it.
What's the matter with you? You trying to be a hero or what? You don't look good. Look, let's go. We'll let you
I'm
out.
not trying to be anything. I just want to be left alone. Okay?
No one's bothering me.
I wish the fuck you never came into this bank. That's all. But don't try to act like you're some angel of human kindness.
But there he's decent enough to turn around and apologize to girls, not realizing all the girls are like, what, because he swore? What'd he say?
Yeah. Speaking of the girls just in general, they don't seem to be taking this very seriously. I mean, sometimes they look horrified and terrified, and other times they're dancing around, and Sonny is teaching one of them to do a military thing with the guns. Yeah. And I just, they're listening to the news, and they're reading, and they're having a great day off, basically. They're getting pizza. But when they are terrified, they are terrified. Especially Maria. That moment when she's let out of the car at the end and you see just how grateful she is to be alive and how happy she is to get out of there. But she does stop for that 1 second and give Sal the rosary because it's going to be his first plane ride. So there's become a little bit of a Stockholm syndrome in every single one of those hostages.
A little bit. I like how that dynamic changes an instant, where 1 minute they're all chatting amiably, and once the lights go off, it's like, all right, everybody into the vault, and guns are pointed at them again. Let's go quickly over a couple of the other cast members. First, playing Sonny's mother, we have Judith Malina. She also appeared in Awakenings, The Addams Family, playing Grandma, which is really weird considering she was replaced in that role by Carol Kane, who's another one of the tellers, and The Sopranos. Doesn't have a huge part, but that one scene outside the bank, you kind of get a sense of why Sonny might be quite as screwed up as he is.
Oh, absolutely.
Listen, the FBI understands everything.
Yeah.
They understand that it is not you that is doing this. It's the pressures from your home life.
Don't get on Angie now. Don't get on her.
Did I say one word against her?
What you were going
Everything in your
Ma,
life.
she has nothing to do with it.
In your
It's
life
me.
was sweetness and roses. And you wouldn't need Leon if Angie was treating you right. You know that. I don't understand. I don't understand why you want to sleep with her anyway. You got 2 kids on welfare now. What do you want to sleep with her? You got a wife
Please,
and 2 kids
Mom,
on welfare.
not now. I can't talk to you about this now.
And there's another scene that she's in when the mother and father and I guess sister find out that Sonny's robbing a bank, and the father says, oh, who needs to rob a bank with a sap for a mom? So you know he's been handed things from his mom, and he's a mama's boy in a lot of ways.
She's indulgent, but she also is constantly complaining and berating him for his choices and second-guessing everything he's done.
Yep.
And that father is actually played by Dominic Chianese, who appeared with Pacino in The Godfather Part 2 as Johnny Ola, and, of course, his Uncle Junior on The Sopranos. The last one is Stevie, played by Gary Springer, who doesn't have a huge career, but I always recognize from Jaws 2, where he plays one of the day sailors in there.
Something that I wanted to note about Stevie, he has a very small role, but Sonny is wearing brown. He's got a white shirt, and he's wearing brown pants, brown coat. Sal is wearing this dark red suit. And then there's the kid, who's in like a sweater and jeans. He's not in dress pants at all. He is a kid, but he has yellow stripes on his shirt. And I just think, of course, he's going to be the one who runs. He's wearing yellow.
I didn't even pick up on that. That's true. Let's talk about the crew. The big one, of course, is director Sidney Lumet. Lumet's had an amazing career, going all the way back to 12 Angry Men, Long Day's Journey into Night, Failsafe, Network, The Verdict. And of course, he previously worked with Pacino on Serpico, and a lot of his movies would come to define New York for a lot of viewers. This one in particular.
Yeah, defining New York. The first scene in the movie, the montage of people, the types of people in New York. You'll find construction workers and people in country clubs playing tennis. You'll see the homeless. You'll see businessmen. And they're intercut so that you have the haves and the have-nots, one after the other, have not, have not. And it sets up the socioeconomical tension that goes through the rest of the movie.
Not to mention just the documentary feel it has, and then he kind of extends to other scenes in the movie, too.
Yes.
The way they're shot, the way they're edited. He also urged the actors to improvise a lot, and he would do weird little tricks to aid performances. Like, he'd have Pacino do takes over and over and over again, even though they had a great one, just so he could get him a little bit more exhausted for the next take, which fits perfectly. It's cruel, but it works really well.
I know.
On the screenwriting front, the script was written by Frank Pearson. Pearson starred on television with programs such as Naked City and Have Gun Will Travel. He also wrote the screenplays for Cat Blue and Cool Hand Luke, and contributed to the remake of A Star Is Born. And he turned to directing a couple great HBO TV movies like Citizen Cone with James Woods, Somebody Has to Shoot the Picture with Roy Scheider, and he was the president of the Writers Guild of America and the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences for a while. Quite a career,
Busy man.
With this one, he took the job and then tried to back out of it, but he had already spent the event, so he had to do it because he had real anxiety trying to figure out the character of Sonny. He wasn't actually able to interview the real John Wodowitz. He wouldn't submit to that. So he was just trying to figure out an angle for him, and talking to all these different people and getting these different perceptions, he hit upon the idea we mentioned of Sonny trying to please everybody. And it really makes everything click and work just the right way.
I think the movie would have suffered had he been able to interview John or see any of the footage from the robbery. What was changed because he didn't see any of that footage was perfect, and it was a pulled back scale of the real man's character.
I think it also works that we don't really get a full handle on who Sonny is. We get the little hints we do, and that's enough. And I think that, again, with Sal, too, that these two guys, we don't totally figure out exactly who they are and why they do everything they do. And I think that makes them much more interesting and human as a result.
We don't need to know. They are, in a way, set place as an everyman.
A really strange everyman.
A very,
go to commit a crime, but...
Yes, but, you know, in that position, needing money, for whatever reason you need money... You know, they represent veterans. They represent poor people who need money for whatever reason. They represent the downtrodden lower class.
The disenfranchised.
Yes, yeah.
Despite the fact that the screenplay won the Oscar, apparently a lot of it wasn't really used. It was actually used more of as a springboard for actors to improvise. So you had Pacino improvising the ATTICA scene outside the front of the bank, for example, or the conversation between Sonny and Leon. A lot of that stuff was done just by the actors. Even Sal's little thing about going to Wyoming was something that John Cazale came up with.
A moment of brilliance.
That, again, tells you so much about the character in that little moment. It makes him kind of adorable in a weird, twisted way.
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden you want to take care of this person. This person is so broken.
Who just doesn't seem to know any better. Yeah. The director of photography for the film was Victor J. Kemper. Kemper also photographed a really wide variety of movies like The Candidate with Robert Redford, and Justice for All, again with Al Pacino, The Jerk, Xanadu of all things, Clue, and Tommy Boy.
Well, around the time of Xanadu and Clue, he became my favorite cinematographer. Those movies they're very bright movies. And they're both shot almost like stage musicals, and they're really fantastical movies for different reasons. I would never have guessed that the same person did the cinematography for Dog Day Afternoon.
The style is so different. I mean, he
completely
lit
different.
The movie with actual fluorescent lights in the bank, which you normally don't do, and it makes everything look kind of sickly and pale and not quite right, which fits the scene perfectly.
Well, it gives you the feeling that as an audience member, you are in that bank with them. Because those lights, those fluorescent lights that you have to see 5 days a week for most of your day, it's a sickly feeling.
Mm-hmm. It totally de-glamorizes everything. This is not a Hollywood bank robbery. This looks much more real as a result of it. Mm-hmm. And then when they lose the lights and they just have the harsh emergency lights, and it kind of sets off how much everybody is sweating and how exhausted everybody is. And even the way things are shot, like that great scene where Sonny goes out and there's several pans around showing all the different cops.
Yes.
It's, again, shot like a documentary filmmaker might shoot a scene like that.
This is a very American film, specifically New York, of course, but it is a very American film dealing with American issues. And the colors, red, white, and blue, are throughout the entire movie. And it's not, I don't think, coincidence, because the color red itself is used very, very selectively. The most times we see the color red are from American flags, from the cops flashing lights, and from the barber poles in the barbershop where the police are stationed. The last 15 minutes of the movie, the only colors you really see, because the colors are all desaturated into dark. You see the red, the white, and the blue from the airport terminal barriers, from the police cars, from the airplane itself. So it's very, very American.
The editor of the film was D.D. Allen. Allen is legendary in Hollywood, having worked on The Hustler, Bonnie and Clyde, and Reds, and was known for using overlapping audio and jump cuts. And here she's very good at adjusting to the different pacing of scenes. Like, there'll be these long, languid takes in the bank where she has to kind of suggest the tedium. It's very tricky to make it clear that the characters are bored without making it bored for the audience.
Oh, yes.
And she does that very well, and yet all of a sudden we can have a scene where Sonny shoots out the back door where the cuts are really fast, and the pace is suddenly frenetic, and it's very, very energetic and scary and edgy. And the fact that she can go from 0 to 100 in those kind of scenes really says something to her ability as an editor.
The only place I really noticed editing, as in cuts, the montage at the beginning. And much like music for me, if I notice it, I want to notice it for a reason. And I really did not notice the editing. I just kind of took in the movie. And that's successful.
And also considering she had to make footage work together that was probably shot at very different times. Like the scene where Sonny comes out with the marked money and is throwing it at the crowds. And you can tell it's something where they kind of had to fudge it, because when in the wide shot you can see Pacino throws it up and the wind just kind of blows it right back down. But she cuts it in a way where we see it drifting over to the crowd on the left and then the crowd on the right.
Right.
And it's cut fast enough that the scene actually works, even though it really shouldn't.
It did work very well.
Going back to that opening montage, it was actually Alan who put the Elton John track Amarina over it, just as a temp track, and it turns out it worked so good, Lumet actually had the studio pony up the money to get the rights to it to use it in the film.
It was a very good choice, not just for the artist, but the song itself it's a New York song.
Let's get into the fun stuff, the themes and meanings of the movie. Of course, the big one is crime and mass media, and how Sonny's robbery becomes this almost a cultural event and entertainment for the crowds.
This wasn't just a crime in mass media. This was a crime of mass media. The media was interfering with the police. They were interfering with the hostages. They didn't have any boundaries. It was a mess. They were calling the robbers. Who does that?
Tying up the phone line that the police might be using, giving them information about what's going on. Yeah.
Yes, it was crazy.
Or you comment on the fact that the media starts bringing up that Sonny is gay and implying that Sal is gay and how that affects the situation as well.
They bring it up. They go into detail about his life with his first wife and children, about his life with Leon, and just details that it's not news. It's only news because they're sensationalizing it.
Well, it goes to that thing we see, especially now, where if somebody is suddenly noteworthy for whatever reason, we have to know everything about them instantly.
Well, also, it comes down to ratings, and gosh, we just saw Nightcrawler, and this ties in really well in that if they have nothing, they've got to manufacture something to keep the viewers watching.
That brings us to Sonny as this kind of counterculture hero. Yeah, remembering that the movie came out in 1975, right after Watergate, when audiences were now really skeptical of authority and government in particular. You can see how Sonny is portrayed as this hero, at least in the first half of the movie. The guy sticking it to the man, sticking it to the police. And that the other blue-collar employees, like the bank employees and like Moretti, are much more more sympathetic than the government agents who show
Right.
up. And then we see how that turns once it comes out that Sonny is bisexual, or at least as put in the media, gay, and how the crowd starts to turn on him.
The crowd turned on him instantaneously. It was awful to watch, and it's one of those movies that you're watching and you feel so deeply for this person that you should not be feeling for. Sonny was checking the people as they come in, make sure they don't have any guns, so he's patting them down, and the crowd is just hooting catcalling and just being abusive, and it was so hard to watch. And it mirrors in a lot of ways what happens in media to stars today. It was a very encapsulated, quick switch.
Yep.
But you see it happen to stars like Lindsay Lohan, or it has happened, where they're the darlings, everybody loves them, and then they screw up in a way that media or the mass consciousness of society has deemed not okay. And now it is cool to report on every single one of their missteps, and for people to badmouth them all over the place. So it's a microcosm for a bigger problem.
It speaks to that weird ability of mass media to make us suddenly identify and say, this is our guy.
Yes.
He's one of us, or she's one of us. They understand the problems we're going through. And then as soon as one thing comes up that doesn't really jibe with our view of things, then they're the other. They don't represent us anymore.
There are very few instances where someone or something will be so universally loved that they won't go through that dip of love, hate, love again, because they've redeemed themselves.
Well, and frankly, if they're universally loved, somebody will look for something
because
to bring
it's
them down.
much more interesting to say something like that. Yes.
And we see that once Sonny loses the crowd, what happens? The Gay Liberation Front shows up, and then they've claimed Sonny as their own.
Yes.
And he's their hero now.
Exactly.
It's interesting to note that Pacino would star in another film focusing on the gay lifestyle and cruising, which was a lot more controversial than this one was. One other tiny little moment, I think, says a lot about where the filmmakers are coming from in terms of their views of this, is when Leon is talking about, in first act, she says that he was diagnosed as a woman trapped in a man's body.
Who's diagnosed,
Yeah.
which is horrifying. You should never be diagnosed as that. That's a personal journey.
But you'll notice in the background, one of the cops starts laughing, and
Yes.
Moretti immediately gives him a look like, shut up. And I thought that wasn't just him talking to the cop, I think that's almost him kind of talking to the audience. I think Lumet kind of counted on that line is going to make some people in the audience laugh. And it's almost like Moretti is there to go, no, you be quiet too. That we're taking this seriously. We're giving this some level of respect.
Right.
And I think that's a really beautiful little moment that's kind of hidden in that scene. Interesting note about the music for the movie, that there actually is none other than that one track in the beginning, and even that's revealed to be playing on the radio in their car. No music whatsoever.
There's no background music. There's the occasional, something on the TV will play a theme song a little bit.
The really nice touch after the interview goes awry with Sonny that they cut into a Looney Tunes cartoon,
Yes.
which just seems really apt. During the scene where the gay protesters show up, one of them is actually a young Harvey Fierstein.
Oh.
Which I didn't realize. I was trying to find him in there. I couldn't see which one he is, but he's in there somewhere.
I don't think I would have recognized him.
Supposedly Pearson had actually written a scene where Sonny and Leon would have met outside the bank as they were going off to the airport and shared a farewell kiss. But
I'm glad we didn't see that.
yeah, Pacino felt it would have detracted from the phone conversation they had earlier.
It would have, and I feel like we'd already established how the audience at large felt about that particular relationship. We did not need to see them booing and catcalling any more than we already had.
Also, at that point, it feels like the film becomes about isolating Sonny from all these different elements.
Yes.
That Leon is now apart. During that last scene where we see Sal is dead, the hostages are taken away, and we're left with just Sonny alone on that car hood. I think it would have been important to keep that separation between the two of them. That last moment on the phone he knows is probably the last contact he's going to have with this person. Speaking of that phone conversation, Lumet wanted to film it in one take because he felt it was really important for the continuity of the emotions. But the problem is the average film camera at that time only held about 10 minutes worth of film.
Huh.
So to get around that, they actually set up two cameras, one right next to the other, so that the difference in angle would be negligible, and just filmed it that way. So once one camera ran out, he'd cue the other one, and that one started filming.
Very
so they could get
interesting.
the full take of Pacino in that scene, and I assume Chris Sarandon on the other side. Let's talk about the legacy of the movie. Of course, after this, you have years and years of crime films presenting heists that go wrong, usually hilariously, like Quick Change with Bill Murray was a funny one. Airheads is unfortunately not a particularly funny one.
Hey, I liked Airheads. It introduced me to the wonders of Steve Buscemi.
Actually, he was the only reason I saw that movie, because I liked him in Reservoir Dogs.
Now, heist films gone hilariously wrong is something to take out of this movie, but you might want to look at heists that have gone tragically wrong in film as well, because this was, in a lot of ways, it went tragically wrong.
I guess it's in a measured way, because it could have gone so much worse that it's hard for me to look at it that way in a way. But also, a lot of films involving hostage-taking, hostage negotiations, I think take a lot of cues from this movie. John Q with Denzel Washington, The Negotiator, which is a really good one. Yep. In the movie Swordfish, it's actually name-checked in the beginning and disparaged, which, considering that movie is Swordfish, it really shouldn't be taking pot shots at other films. And Inside Man, one of Spike Lee's most popular movies, which has a lot of direct homages to this movie, to the fact they actually cast some of the same actors. The Pizza Man pops up as a cop in that. Marsha Jean Kurtz, who's one of the hostages in this, is a hostage in that film as well. And again, it's another great, really characteristically New York movie. The film is also shown in hostage negotiation training courses for the FBI.
What not to do.
Actually, no.
And what to do.
It's actually due, again, for showing how Moretti establishes the rapport with Sonny as an example of how you do that. How he very gently cajoles him into coming out of the bank, revealing who he is, revealing what he wants, stalling for time until they can kind of come up with a plan. And, of course, it greatly affected the life of the real Robert John Wojtowicz, who never really escaped from under the shadow of this movie. He sort of played into it too. I mean, he'd sign autographs outside of the bank. And
yeah, he definitely is. He's not ashamed to have done this or been a part of this at all.
What's your favorite scene from the film?
Oh gosh, my favorite scene is Sonny and Moretti screaming at each other. They are both angry at the same thing. They're angry because supposedly some of the cops tried to get in the back of the bank, and Sonny doesn't know what's going on, and Moretti doesn't know what's going on, so they're just screaming at each other, and it's just frenetic and wonderful.
What the fuck is the matter with you?
What?
What are you firing a shot in there for?
What are they doing?
We got 250 cops here, for Christ's sake.
What are they doing back there?
They're trying to go in there. What the hell's the matter with you? Huh?
What's the
Are we
matter
dealing
with-
or aren't we?
They were trying to get in there, right?
Who?
Come on, don't give me that shit. You know who.
What the fuck is going on here?
You're full of shit!
Go around and find out what's going on back there. Honest
Yeah.
to God, son, I don't know what the fuck is going on here. Our communications aren't set up yet. I just
You
sent
get
somebody back
somebody
there.
to talk to
God
me.
damn it.
And it's a nice sense of these two guys both trying to establish dominance over the scene
Yes.
and control what's happening. For me, it's a tough one. I think now I'd probably have to go with the scene between Sonny and Sal, where Sal reminds him of their pact, and Sonny brainstorms immediately how they're going to get out of this, and suddenly realizes we have the hostages, we have control of the situation, or so he thinks.
We get a helicopter. We get a helicopter here. It lands on the roof and takes us to a jet. And we fly the fuck out of the country. Sal, we can do it. Sal, look, we got him. We don't even know it. You know, we got the hostages. You know, we've been looking at this the wrong way. We make the demands. They're going to give us anything we want.
Because so much of the movie from that point on is about him trying to assert control. Where he
Yeah.
goes out and he'll be like, hey, put your guns away, and showing off that he can get all these guys to put their guns away. What are your recommendations? If somebody liked this movie, what else do you think they'd like?
I know I've mentioned it a few times, but you absolutely have to see the documentary called The Dog, and it's a documentary on this event, the real event, and about the real person that Sonny was based on. I have another recommendation, Bronson. Because it's a biopic, and it's a violent biopic, and it's a character that you have conflicting emotions for as well. You shouldn't like this character, but he's charismatic.
I've got a couple, two other ones based on true crime events. One is The General with Brendan Gleeson.
Excellent.
A great one where he's kind of the Irish Robin Hood who becomes this folk hero and earns a lot of enemies among the police force. And a lot like Pacino in this movie, Gleeson brings a lot of really odd, quirky things to that character that just feel very, very real. The other one is The Sugarland Express, actually the first theatrical feature from Steven Spielberg with Goldie Hawn and William Atherton, as this couple who, when they lose their child to child services, kidnap the child back and go on this long chase with the police pursuing them. And again, the crowds are lining along the roads, cheering them on. And like this movie, you're kind of rooting for them because they're the underdogs, but you know at the end something really terrible is going to happen to these people. The last recommendation I'd make is another one from Lumet as director and Pearson as screenwriter, The Anderson Tapes, another sort of heist thriller with Sean Connery as an ex-con who gets this idea to rob this really luxurious apartment building and doesn't quite count on the constant surveillance and electronic recording equipment that's everywhere in society now, recording his every move. Besides Connery, it actually has the screen debut of Christopher Walken as one of his fellow robbers. It's obviously not to the level of this film, but is definitely an enjoyable little heist flick. Any final thoughts about the film?
Just go see this movie. If you haven't, go see it. If you have, see it again.
I think it is kind of essential viewing, especially if you're interested in crime movies. Plus, it's nice to see Al Pacino back when he wasn't really relying on screaming all the time to pull off a really good emotional performance, that he can be volcanic but also quiet and subtle, too.
Right.
That ends our conversation, but not the discussion. If you'd like to have your say about Dog Day Afternoon or feel that we missed something, check out the comment section for this episode on cinemaspection.blogspot.com and start talking.
Email your comments, complaints, questions, and suggestions to cinemaspection@gmail.com. You can like our Facebook page, and we're on Twitter as well. Our show is now available on Stitcher as well as iTunes, so if you haven't checked out the backlog, check it out. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, and if you have a moment to spare, leave us a review. We appreciate any feedback you can offer.
We'll be back to discuss another movie next time. Until then, remember to keep watching closely. There's more to a movie than just what's on the screen. ATTICA?
ATTICA.
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 ATTICA.